Hello everyone, and welcome back to McD Guitars. We're here for another round in the workshop, and let's see what we have going on today. Um, Lead you guys through it, and we'll talk to you guys in a little bit. All right. Off we go. So we are going to see a lot of work done on the single cut today, and it's pretty pleasing. We're going to see a lot of neck work done and some good forward progress. So you can see there, we started off by chopping off the top of our headstock to our desired dimension. And now we're just doing a little cleanup. This headstock veneer ends up staying about 2 mil thick. I sometimes take them down further than that, but I felt pretty good with it on this one. Our headstock is still too thick right now, but we're going to start working on that long journey pretty soon here. I kind of laugh about it. I've kind of started my foundation with just doing everything in stages. And so by that, I'm not going to take the headstock all the way down to proper thickness right now. I'm going to work my way towards it. And by doing that, I am kind of doing the same job twice, but I've been able to avoid making any mistakes by doing it this way. And as you can see here, we start filing our volute. Well, by the time we end up getting down to proper headstock thickness, I'm going to have to do this whole process all over again. But the reason I don't mind it is it really keeps track of my direction. If I take this down in stages, I'm a lot more confident of maintaining the shape and angles I desire. Where if you take really dramatic steps all the way down to your finish line and you come up a little off angle, then you're in a lot more trouble as far as correcting that. So the beauty is, as you get better at each process, you get better and better at judging where you can go to. So yay, experience. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way this guy is looking. It is kind of funny though. We'll carve a whole nother big chunk off of that volute before we're satisfied. But slow and steady wins the race for me. All right, off to the flying V for a little while. We just had some kind of inconsistencies in the V area, and even after we finish this here and take some of those lumps and bumps out, our circle at the base of that V isn't quite perfectly circle, so we will have to touch that up and make it look nice before we're finished. But yeah, we're moving forward here. This is one of our top two priority guitars to really get this thing finished, so we'll keep working along here and trying to make this thing pretty. It sounds like a rock, and there's still a few places in the bingo that I'm gonna have to fill in sand, so that should be fun. But overall, we've really started taking shape on this one, and boy, yeah, every process on this guitar takes 3 times as long as all the other ones I'm working on, especially filing the edge of this fretboard. And it's like you file and file and file, and there's dust coming out, and it just does not seem to reduce in size. So it's not the first round I've been working on this, and you can see I've got some protection going on there. I wasn't really comfortable with the size of our drill holes for our screws for our tuners, so I did widen those out a little. There was some work on test pieces all around. One last look at our string lineup, and we decided to go 1.5 inch behind these saddles for the stop piece, and I did some studying, as far as string tension and string bendability, and so I went on the shallower side of bridge placement on this guy. Have some good bendability in those strings. And yeah, I was kind of wondering here. I attempted to ground the first studs and failed, but these ones worked. So we do have a ground wire coming out of there. And it also means we will see some strings on this by the end of the video. Can't wait for that. Back to the single cut. Boy, there's just a lot of this going on. Sand, 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 sand. And when you got a wood that is this nice of a hard maple, and every level of grit you go through on the sandpaper, watching those scratch marks disappear is pretty satisfying every level. And yeah, we'll see. We've kind of happy. I was kind of deciding what I should do with the lip on the edge of the guitar. I generally run it a little thinner than this, but in the end, I'm gonna leave it pretty much like it is, and that edge will just kind of half facet, half round off. And I'm really liking the look of this. I really do prefer the violin style carve on instruments. Everyone has the thing that tickles their fancy. But yeah, I also really enjoy doing this kind of control cavity work. All right, on to our cutaway. Just kind of do a little work on this here as we go, and we'll finalize this once we have the neck in and can really get our hand in there and see how we feel. But as we're working in between things, it's nice to see shapes come together. So doing little bits of work here and there on all of it. Now we've got a break here, and we're going to work on Jake's guitar a little bit. First thing we're going to do is pin this template to the top, and yeah, trace that out just so we have some good markings. And it'll be a pretty light route, but we are going to go ahead and do the step down route on this top also. And more stain samples. Just really trying to figure something nice out for the Flying V, and we're going to do another couple rounds of samples here, and really just still hasn't quite grabbed me. So basically on these rounds, we've been going full blown straight stain with no mix down. And so after 4 more rounds here of testing out some different colors and full vibrance, I realized to accomplish what I'm going to need to do, I'm going to need to mix these stains down with some alcohol. I prefer the way alcohol goes on rather than water as far as diluting stains. But yeah, so maybe next episode we will dilute some stains even further than we did here and see if we can come up with a little more transparent look. All right, everyone's favorite thing, freehand routing. It's a scary business, but if you take small chunks, you can just work your way through it and just really focus on not dropping off the edge when your router has nothing else to lean on. So slow and steady wins the race with this kind of deal. Ooh, it's getting deeper, and yeah, it's pretty funny. One time, every time my son would look into one of these hollow body guitars, he would tell me it looks like a little home. So I always feel like I'm building a little home inside of the guitar when I'm doing these step downs. All right, on to the top. And yeah, I think this, doing these hollow body style cutaways, man, it is so nice to have a lightweight guitar. And this is a really nice way to accomplish it. No matter what kind of wood you're working with, you do some step downs, even our single cut, I'm not gonna put any F holes in it. It's just basically will be considered a chamber guitar, but it has the full work just like these. This is kind of a surprise guitar, and this is one that my son is designing, and kind of made his own design, his own template, and we've been working together getting this thing going. So hopefully we'll see some more of this guitar in the future. Pin that template on and make an amphitheater. Yeah, I'm really not sure how common doing this style of hollow body is, but this is just kind of the design I came up with when I started, and it seemed to work the easiest for me. And even as I've gotten better and better tooling over the years, this is kind of the way I prefer to do it. You can see the body sitting right next to it. We've already got the step down and got it pretty well smoothed out in there. So one step at a time with these. And this is definitely one of the heavier maples, so it's going to be nice reducing this weight. All right, I guess it's time to put some side dots in, right? It's always interesting business. I really probably should just suck it up and buy a template for doing this, make life easy. But we'll go ahead and do it the old-fashioned way and just measure with our extra eyes on it. Freehand drilling is interesting. I do it more and more, and really should get myself a new drill press because mine is currently not all that greatly functional. But I've gotten pretty used to doing as straight as I can with the hand drill, which we'll see throughout the video. We went ahead and chose to do some glow-in-the-dark powder for our inlays. It always is tough. We did, before we got to this step off camera, I taped off a couple of the holes and put some sawdust and super glue where, I mean, even just the tiniest blowout with the drill bit when you're drilling these holes is gonna make your glow-in-the-dark powder not round. So you got to be very conscious of that. If you get a chip on your hole, you definitely need to fill it before you go back and get the powder going here, or you're gonna have one ugly side dot. Really kind of blew it on the beginning of all this inlay work. I didn't realize that my super glue was bad. I don't know if it just got too old or what, but it was not penetrating the way it should be, so I ended up having to do a little bit of rework on multiple sections of this. We'll go ahead and give our fretboard here a final little dust off, and then we'll go ahead and raise the grain a couple times and make sure we have no fluff left and we are ready for a final oil up once everything's finished. And you look at that, it sure does turn pretty when it gets dark. It's going to be a very fine looking fretboard. But yeah, we basically are going through 400 there, and now we're on to 600, and a couple rounds of that and we're good. Got to a spot where we had a little super glue overhang from our side dots, so I decided, it's time to go ahead and polish those guys off so we can finish our fretboard without having any little hang-ups. And back to it. Yeah, one came out pretty nice. Now, yeah, hey, we're on to inlays. This is going to be interesting. I'm interested to see what people are going to think of this. But this fretboard is very landscapey to me, so I decided I'm just going to make a desert landscape on this guitar. As you can see, I'm drilling a bunch of holes there. I decided this time that when it came to the designs and creations I wanted to do for inlay markers, I drilled holes basically making a dot-to-dot setup where I could use my little base router with my Dremel tool and just route dot to dot and give myself a little bit easier start and finish on the routes. So I'm really happy with the way it came out, and we a lot of this that is not on camera because we really took shallow passes and did a bunch of passes. But eventually we'll get a good reveal here of what we're doing. But yeah, I can't wait to see what you guys think of this. I really am happy to get back to more artistic styling inlays. When I first drew up this picture that I'm carving out here, I actually had things going all the way up and down the neck. And then I really liked the look of it. You know, it was a full desert landscape, but I went ahead and scaled it back just to inlays on the 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, etc. We do have a little overhang in some places, but for the most part, we're just going to have one fret marker per location it should be. And in the end, it's always nicer that way because once you get too busy, it can really interrupt your playing if you're trying to get somewhere fast and you're like, oh my God, where is it? So I've kind of learned my lesson with that one, that the busier a fretboard is, the harder it is to play when you're really going for it. So yeah, now we have our routing done and quite a bit of touch up with the scalpel. And yeah, I can't say I'm very happy. No major blowouts or mistakes. Maybe a little bit left on the table here or there, but yeah, I'm really happy with the way this is going. So I guess we can finally get into it, and we are going to use full color powders on this inlay design. And I really decided this is something I just wanted to try, and it might not be for everyone because it's pretty interesting looking, but I think when we see the final reveal with what I was going for, that you guys will dig it. So again, last little bit of touch-ups here. All right, on with the colors. Let's see, got a little luck. We had pretty good luck with our sky blue staying pretty white. These are all glow in the dark powders, and just had this really interesting idea to do this. We'll see. It was quite the process, all because of bad super glue. I ended up pretty much doing 2 rounds of this. As you can see, we have Teflon in all of our fret slots that are near a super glue blowout zone. So if you want to make life easy and not have to saw out super glue of your fret slot, you can just slide a little Teflon in there for some protection. Obviously, if it's pretty far away from the fret slot, you can see some of those. I would have to make a pretty big mistake to have some super glue go in there. But yeah, kind of still keeping you guys in suspense of what this is going to be, and I think it's almost kind of better just to see it at the end, and we'll see what you guys think. I did say, desert landscape, so we can just know that's where we're starting. So our layout's starting to look pretty good here. We've got what we want to accomplish, and it's about time to break out that super glue right there. And boy, we're feeling pretty good and think everything's going great, but we are soon going to realize that we are caused a problem here. Once we start to sand this down after drying, we realize that once we get down to the neck level, all we're left with is just powder, and we had no penetration with this super glue. So we basically have to restack up some powder again and get some penetrating. Luckily, I had a new bottle of super glue that was just great, and so the second round went wonderful. We got all the penetration we needed with the super glue, and now it's time to sand those things off. It's always pretty tedious doing this. You're just dying to see what happened, and they slowly start to appear, and you're like, oh, what's in there? Did I do good? How's it gonna be? And well, I'm pretty happy with this one. Yeah, last little bit of work of cleaning out some fret slots there, and we've got our measurement device out there where we can measure the tang depth of our frets and then cross it over and measure that onto this radius. And there's only a few spots you can see there we had to clean up, and for the most part we were in really good shape. Oh, we took a little break here and have Lindsay over today, and he's working on his next guitar, and so we've got a hollow body to build, and Lindsay's definitely learning the ropes, and he's doing quite a bit. He's doing some pretty good work over here. So pretty proud of him. He's learning the ropes and he's got some interest in it. So keep moving forward on that. Yay. I really enjoy being able to give tips and tricks with the experience I've gained over the 4+ years now of building guitars. So can't wait to pass it on to as many people as possible. And I like making guitars look nice, but it's regardless of what the guitar looks like, the sound is what's the most important part. So there's some detailed things with construction that make things flow a lot easier and just be nicer. Yeah. Got Lindsay working with the router. And yeah, hopefully Lindsay's going to keep doing some work with me, and we're probably even going to start doing a little bit of work of building drums. We've already got our first one in mind, but we'll get to that soon. Let's get back to some neck work. So again, when you're bending fret wire, run it through a bunch of times and just take very small changes as you go, and you're actually work hardening the fret as you roll it through. These are stainless steel frets, so I don't know if that stands true with them, but I know if you're using nickel frets, it'll actually harden the nickel if you are able to run it through this a dozen times rather than 2 or 3. So good tip I learned to pass on too. But yeah, really haven't struggled all that much to use stainless. You can see our video clipped out there of cutting frets to length, but we are now ready to drop these in. And it's pretty funny. I wore this drill press out. As you can see, I always support the table there, and I did enough guitars that the main rod of the stand there is just a piece of steel press fit into a piece of cast steel, and I actually wore the fitting out and it became loose. So I had to drill 4 holes in the base of this drill press and put 4 nuts and bolts, and now we're back in business pressing frets again. And yeah, working it through. Gotta always seek and see, we get creative. You gotta always find ways for support for this machine to work. But man, these frets laid in flat. I was pretty happy. Seems with the press you really get good results. Just gotta make sure your fret slots are good. And clip again. I've been through a handful of these, and knock on wood, I haven't seen any particular wear on my tools that's extraneous compared to what is normal. So definitely a fan of working with stainless steel frets. I mean, yeah, why wouldn't you want a fret that lasts forever? And slow and steady on this, but again, that's one of the other bonuses to working with stainless steel, I feel, is the harder one. Ooh, there we go. Here's our inlay debut. So as you can see, we got a fox, some cactuses, some clouds. We'll see more of this at the end, but there's a little sneak peek. And back to the filing. So as I was saying, stainless steel is so hard, it makes it pretty forgiving. I found the first time I crowned some stainless steel frets, I was like, this is actually amazing. I can put work into it and not not go too far right away. But yeah, so some things that are harder to work on are also a little more forgiving. But yeah, we are smooth. We are smooth there, and so let's knock a little bit of our fret edges off. We'll definitely have some, I will do some leveling on the frets and just run through the whole process because that's the way it goes. But after knocking these ends off, you can run your hand up and down this neck comfortably. There's no snagging. So at least while we're doing work, we can handle it comfortably and not worry. Now we're going to clean up a little bit of the inside of Jake's guitar. And you can see, we've got rough spots here and there from our routing, so we can just clean that up with a nice sharp chisel and square off our center block once again. And yeah, I won't make you watch that because who wants to watch that for 3 minutes? But yeah, sand out the body and start to make it a bowl. We need to get some wire access as we get closer to thinking about gluing this neck in. So, ooh, little smoke there. That was a hot one, but yeah, we did go through, and I always liked we put 2 holes here, and why not, right? Why not have a little redundancy in there and just make sure know we're gonna fit in one of those. And here we are. We're ready to. I'm happy with the placement of the bridge and the height of our leveling from the top of the frets to the bridge. Our neck angle looks good, so I'm finally comfortable with cutting this piece out. I measured down to the bottom of our body depth on our pickup routing, and then I put a pickup in the guitar and saw how much of that we could save. So give a little more thickness to the neck to keep. And yeah, here we are. I know old Teddy Woodford says if you drill tuner slots by hand, they're not going to be straight. I am looking directly down from the top of the drill when I make these, and I was really close. And these, I'm not sure what drill bit size this is, but it barely just doesn't fit the tuner in it. So there'll be a little bit of light sanding to get our tuner in, which we'll see. Another key there, making sure that headstock is level every time you're ready to drill a hole, and it helps. But as we sand these holes out, we can put tuners in, and if it's ever so slightly off center, we can sand that side of our hole, and then the tuners all the tuners here go in flat, and we're all happy. And yeah, again, like I said, I worked on this headstock 3 times, and it's still not quite to depth, and so we're gonna have some more work there. Just a glutton for punishment, but let's go ahead and finish up that heel. We are going to carve this and just make it flush with the body, and man, I'm going to take a little chunk of wood off of here. That's going to save me quite a bit of time of filing, and just run it off real quick. You can see this is not a short process because you got to walk back and forth around the neck and make sure you haven't gone too far every good couple strokes. So cut, measure, or however they say it. But yeah, it was nice. We just take these off and away we go. And I'm pretty stoked. Once we get to the end of the video, it's still not finished, but we've gotten pretty close to what it's going to look like on the transition from the heel to the body. And I'm really digging it. I really like the way we go. And yeah, start the work. You got that perfectly carved neck, and now you got to join a new spot to it. So there we are, slow and steady. I think the access of the upper fret register on this build should be pretty nice. With this along with our carve out, I'm pretty happy. All right, we are ready. We have filed that up, and so we've taken a real good look around and made sure everything we want to accomplish that is going to be easier without a neck in this is done. So we've made it there, and we're stoked. Good neck angle. We got glue dripping all over there, but clean that up real quick. And yeah, we got a good neck fit. I'm happy with the joint, and yeah, away we go. This is getting closer to looking like a guitar. Yeah, I guess we'll wrap up in a minute here, but yeah, I guess the one lesson I learned there is don't put the camera so close. You'll hit it a lot. Well, we're going to finish up today on the shaky cam and take a peek at all of the cool progress we've made. So basically, on Lindsay's guitar, you saw him out there chugging away, and look at that. We are getting close to being in a bowl. And yeah, move forward there. I don't think this top is going to get that much relief, if any. We're getting close to being able to start carve this guy. Jake's guitar has got some great progress too. We have really got some smooth down to a bowl on the inside, and our top is in a step down form right now that we need to start cleaning up. So we'll keep moving forward with that, and you can see we are pinned together here. So, boy, when you get those pins in there, it sure makes the glue up really nice. You know what you're getting. We saw my son's new guitar, and as you can see, to get a better look, we've really got a good job starting the hollow body cavity on the body, and we've got our step downs done for that. And if we take a peek, you can kind of see what that template looks like. It's his design. Okay, I can't wait to see this one keep moving forward too. And of course, we've still got our walnut guitar in the works. You see the new journey. There's a couple spots I just wasn't quite satisfied with, and I polished up a little bit of scratch here and there. So we've also finished the neck on this guy. So by next round, this will have another coat of wax on it, and we're going to dive into the electronics, the madness of electronics, of what's going to happen with that. We've got strings on the Flying V. Yay. So this one's definitely coming along. See, if you look really close, you can see our nut spacing isn't quite right there, but yeah, pretty stoked with that. Getting really close to being able to stain this baby up and call it a day and get this thing finished. Last but not least, our single cut is a solid guitar. You can see that single piece flame maple top is really starting to polish up. Digging that. And we got to take a peek at our fretboard, right? So we have got a fox running along, a cactus, a cloud, maybe a palmetto plant, our sun setting on the mountain, and we've got an owl in a tree, some more plant, cactus, and cloud. So I am digging that. Yeah. Also, come out really good on our drawing there. So just a little bit of work to polish that together, and we will be really happy. Take a look down there. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you have a nice day. Cheers.